Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to how to sell 2 to 5K fitness packages in 2026. And I will congratulate anyone who's here on time. We definitely like uh, people to be on time. We definitely discourage tardiness. So, even saying that, I am going to give a minute or so for the latecomers to get in. I'm sure some of them are finishing with clients or eating their dinner or getting over England losing in the World Cup last night. So, my name is Tim Drummond. I'm super pumped to be here. My aim is to help you see how you can build a fitness business in 2026 with all of the changes that have been going on. And that is very specifically about how you can build a fitness business based on the high ticket model. The high ticket model aligned with understanding how do you justify, how do you give value back for the high ticket fees. And we're going to go over the single best way to do that, and that is through becoming a behavior change specialist. We have a few people on. I have some current clients, I have some people I've chatted with a little bit. Stephen, Sarah, Eric. We'll have some more people come on, and my other clients are coming in as well. So let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know where you're coming in from. Um, Let me know where you're coming in from, and then I'll tell you what. Let me know what you're coming in, where you're coming in from, and what you're hoping to get from today. And so, what you're hoping to get from today. Hey, Sarah, as Sarah jumps in on what you're hoping to get from today. Now, I think because I've got some people in here that have been on my gigs before, they may know where to interact. So, what we try and do is we try and keep it in the Q&A. On Zoom, there's three places that you can interact: chat, the raised hand, or the Q&A. And I'm going to ask everyone to keep it in the Q&A. It's much easier for me to be able to go to one place because I do actually want to make this interactive. I do actually want to make this interactive, and I do want to be able to answer questions. And there might even be some stuff that I'm going to share with you and see if anyone wants to volunteer themselves. So, yes, um, Washington State, that means Toronto. Stephen, where are you now? You're in Bath, right? Are you actually in Central Bath? Right. While I'm waiting that, let me know, Stephen. I'm curious. So, as we've given them 3 minutes, that's plenty of time for people that are late. They will have to listen to the recording. All right, so we roll into how to sell 2 to 5K fitness packages in 2026. Over the next 90 minutes, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to guide you through the 4 steps experienced PTs are currently using to become behavior change specialists. That is for their gym, for their locality, and even for their niche online. So they can sign 2 to 5K clients, and that's even if they don't live in Mayfair or Manhattan. I hope that's how you spell Manhattan. And if you are new to my world, on this workshop, I want to actually share what's exactly working in 2026 in the hope that it's valuable to you because things have changed quite a lot over the last few years in the fitness industry. Here's what I want for you when you leave today. Here's what I want for you when you leave today. And that is know how to become the coach that people actively seek out, be able to sign clients without having to compete on price, and learn how to package your experience into a high ticket 12-week behavior change coaching program. And listen, yes, I know this is what people are often thinking at this point. Like, oh my, another Fit Pro mentor, marketer who has zero clue what it's like to actually be in the fitness industry trenches. And it's actually like the reality is far from that. That is me with in Fitness First in Liverpool Street with a lovely advert in the back, attempting my first photo shoot. And I qualified back in 2010 as a personal trainer. And this was me attempting to build my business while walking the floor, aiming to get fully booked by charging like $5 an hour, £5 an hour more than everyone else in my gym. Now, I did have big aspirations to be the best trainer I could become, for sure. And over time, and I mean over time, I did go from that place where I was doing the same as what everyone else was doing, and certainly with some struggle and a lot of help along the way, I did actually go on to do everything that I'm teaching in this workshop today. That was me. Um, it's actually a terrible picture. Um, photos, photoed and in the Sunday Times. And I eventually became one of London's highest charging PTs and a very successful online coach too. But, but there was a lot of failures in the middle and a lot of personal struggles as well. And this was me having wasted 2 whole years trying to build my fortune with a bootcamp business, which we called Sexy in the City. And suffice to say, it did not catch on. In fact, after about 2 years of a lot of trial and error, we actually just closed the business down because it was not working. Now, if you stay on for the whole training, I do want everyone to stay on for the whole training. Those who do at the end, they will get a gift from me. They will get a gift from me. And as my VA, I was just checking, she might have said, Tim, like, you're having a bad hair day. You'll get a gift from me, which is a free copy of my 12-week behavior change blueprint. And I will get that to you at the end. And that is for the people that stay on. Now, you might know a little bit about me, you might not know, but this is one of my clients' feedback when he first started using the 12-week blueprint. What a monster of a program you have created. My clients are currently starting weeks 3 and I'm getting goosebump moments on most calls. I struggle to keep my smirk in as I watch them grow call by call. They turn up doing the task and are pumped to tell me what they've been up to. I uncontrollably gave a woman a round of applause last night as she told her "Who are you" story. It was like a speech from the Grammys. I've never experienced anything like it. It's an insane breakthrough for a woman who's been depressed marriage for 20. She feels empowered beyond belief 2 weeks in. The value 100% is in the coaching call. So that was one of our biggest fans, as you can see. Now, in this video, I'm also going to share with you an opportunity for how we could potentially work together. So, can I ask people if that's okay? What I'd like people to do is say yes. Say, Tim, that would be okay. Or say, Tim, I couldn't think of anything worse to actually be made an offer. And by the way, I have had some people say this before. So if that was you, what I would do is I would say, look, this is the bit to kind of put your fingers in your ears, or to be honest, if you've got what you need, you can jump off. So could everyone on the call let me know that that would be okay? While you do, I will take some water on. Could everyone on the call please let me know that would be okay? Yeah, all good with me. Okay, give me some more, please. That's fine. And I've not had a no you can't for a while now, if I'm honest. So thank you for that. So why let me get this out of the way. Here's why today is important, right? And I've already said it, things have changed massively. Right now, AI is writing very good training programs for free. I was speaking to someone about this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they were telling me what's coming. And I'll be honest, I was slightly doubtful. I didn't totally get it. But now you can literally go onto AI and they will, not only can you get a program written, it will update often, to be honest, not that much worse than a very good personal trainer. Now, of course, we also know there's lots of benefits that personal trainers get, but people still have to weigh this up in their world. Fat jabs, and now, especially if you're in the UK, I'm sure this has been available in the States for a while, and now the fat pill. So you don't even have to like have the shame of like jabbing yourself with the fat jabs. Um, and it is eating into standard weight loss coaching. And more trainers than ever are competing for the same bulk of clients. And so the industry is about to split into two. And we are going to have these two buckets, right? We are going to have 98% of coaches who will be pulled into a race to the bottom on prices. And this is already in an industry that undercharges. The 2% winners will be the coaches doing what AI and weight loss drugs can't do. And that is personalized behavior change coaching. This is the focus of this workshop. That is the focus of this workshop. So you can become the behavior change specialist for your gym, your locality, or your niche online. And listen, here's the 4 steps I'm going to be covering with you today. Your packaging and pricing, your business model, your leads and positioning, and your leadership. And now, the fourth one might be something that I'm not going to say people are surprised about, but it's going to give you as much of an insight as all of the rest of it. So you can sign 2 to 5K clients without competing on price. I'm also going to show you, by the way, how you can turn these clients into recurring monthly income as well. But I would just want to share before, like how I actually came to this discovery. And when I call it an ethos, it was a discovery from working with clients, seeing other coaches working with their clients, and realizing that I was doing something different. And this understanding that I wanted to build it's not just a bumper sticker. It's not just, and I'll say this later, it's not just something that I put on my LinkedIn. This is my whole business model. The whole business is built around behavior change. And I want this to make sense for you. So I became a PT swayed by the promises of working for yourself in a freedom business. That's me again in the gym. Little did I know the reality. I did Poliquin courses back in the day. I used to read something called PT on the net. I walked the floor. I was building myself up and my business up. And over time, it started creeping in. The first few years, I just loved what I did. I was so passionate. I was so excited. I wouldn't say like every single time I woke up and had to go to see a client at 7 o'clock, I was like super excited in that moment. But I was actually doing something that I really enjoyed. And that hadn't been the case before I became a personal trainer. But over time, the downsides did start creeping up. The biggest thing for me was the monthly frustration of losing money when clients cancelled, when they left, and knowing that I just needed to constantly replace those people. And that for me felt like a massive merry-go-round. And also at the same time, I wasn't 25. Outside realities of like an actual business here that will give me the potential to keep doing this with increasing responsibilities in life. I massively wanted to buy a house. They just came to the fore. And there I was, seemingly at this point, by the way, the most successful trainer in my gym. I was educated to the max. I was charging more than everyone else. But I felt an absolute million miles away from the financial freedom that I wanted for my future. And as I said earlier, like I had big aspirations. I wanted to buy a house in London. I can tell you that is not easy. I wanted to invest, maybe even like have properties. I certainly didn't want to be in personal debt either. And these were all bubbling under the surface, right? Until one day, I say this, it happened, this big moment when I actually realized that I needed to do something different. And this was a long day. I got home after working 12 hours, and my then partner, look, she was stressed. She was not happy. She never saw me. Money was okay some months, other months it was a joke. Like it was the inconsistency. And we had this late night, and I say conversation. It could be framed as an argument. And basically, she turned around and said, "When are you going to get a proper job?" And it was in that moment I realized that I just needed to do something different. Like this was not right. I'd had a career before being a personal trainer, and I'm not going to say I wanted to go and do something different, but I knew something needed to change. And that's what I did. I woke up the next day and I took some action. Now, for some reason that day, I just decided to randomly DM a guy that I had chatted to about 4 weeks previously, 4 months previously, I should say. And this was a guy called Glenn. And he had been in my inbox. And this was back in the day, like 15 years ago, by the way. So this wasn't just a common occurrence. And I don't know what it was that day. I was sitting in Nero's thinking about what I was going to do with myself. And I just dropped him a DM. Fast forward, I don't know, it was pretty whirlwind. About 2 weeks later, I joined this guy's program. I joined Glenn's program. And things for me moved very, very fast. Here's the thing, I had some really good initial success with Glenn, but what I want to do is I want to give you an insight that I think is really important. And looking back now, after about a decade and a half or so, I realized really how important this was. I raced that first year to grow my business away from the face-to-face one-to-one cap, and I actually hit six figures in the first 12 months of us working together. And that's six figures in like proper Queen King's English money, not these funny American dollars, right? And just everything was changing. Like I had the security of quick and consistent income, and it changed everything for me personally. But this is the thing, right? One day I remember being on Glenn's calls, and it was like always in the back of my mind. I just got the energy sometimes that other people were just always like finding reasons that things didn't work or seemed to be struggling. And Glenn was a really good coach. He wasn't judgmental, he's a bit sweary. And I was kind of there, I was always sort of paying attention. Then one time it hit me. I really noticed like all, not all, but nearly all of the other coaches in Glenn's program just weren't doing that well. And I had this huge realization why I was so far ahead of many of the other coaches in Glenn's program. I was signing more clients, I was keeping them. I wasn't getting the refunds that a lot of these other guys were getting, and certainly I wasn't getting the complaints. And I kind of figured that I must be doing something different. In fact, Glenn one day actually asked me, would I put some trainings on for the other clients in his program? And when he did that, I was like, okay, I am really doing something different here. And I chatted with him and realized while doing that that everything that I was doing had stemmed back for this moment in a gym. And if you're a PT, you might resonate with this. I had a client and we were doing the leg. I mean, this is the part you'll probably obviously resonate with, but I had a client and I was on the leg press and I really wanted this client to do well. I don't know why it was. I think she was a bit stern, let's say. She was quite a high powered lawyer and she was paying me for 2 sessions a week. And we were on the mezzanine level at Fitness First and she was doing leg press. And sometimes with these clients that you don't quite have the same crack with, it's a bit awkward, or you find sort of things to chat about. And it was in between sets, and she just like openly started complaining. And I mean complaining because other people could hear this. Why am I not getting results? I'm not happy. Like now I would know how to deal with that situation. But at that time, I was just like a rabbit in headlights. And I think I actually made it even worse. We finished that session, but it was not good. The interesting thing at that time is that I had another client that joined around exactly the same time. This other client was the same age. She did the same job. They were both lawyers. They both had the same goal. They were size UK 16 and they wanted to both get to size 12. This client, to be honest, the answer was you're not getting results because you're not doing anything that I've asked of you. But the other client did everything that I asked of her. And she lost 2 dress sizes in 9 weeks. And she thought I was an absolute genius. And at the same time, this other client would have been telling people in her work, what a waste of money. And it was the moment that I got really curious about this. Now, we all know as Fit Pros, everyone gets things individualized. This is true. But I had these two people, and one of them was doing everything, and one of them was doing nothing. And I was like, I am missing something here. I'm missing something here. And I made it my business to learn about what I eventually realized was the psychology of change. I just started reading like books like Switch. Great book, by the way, if you want to buy it. And I was like, I knew everything about training, nutrition, but I just didn't know that there was this other world in the industry. Now, by the way, I will say It's slightly different these days. It's slightly different because we can all go online. We've got all like the only way that I could find any of this stuff out in the industry was on PT on the net. And there was a little bit on there. I realized, hey, this is the reason why I could become the best trainer I know. And I wanted to become the best paid personal trainer that I knew. And I wanted to make a lot of money. And one of the ways I was going to do it is I was going to be the best coach I could be. And so I realized that this didn't exist inside the industry. There was a guy called Dax Moy who did a little bit, and there was a later on a company called the Body Transformation Academy, and I was kind of learned everything I could from them, often from afar. But I was just like, I'm just going to read everything that I can. I and eventually coined this what I call now behavior change coaching. During that time, I even went and did a master's level. So it was a third of the credits for a master's in what they called personal and business coaching. I actually think it was just life coaching. Really, what it was about is how do you get an insight into the people that are the best in the world at change? And I even realized that when I was at college, at uni, I did modules on organizational change. And it was all the same thing. It was all the same understanding. Don't tell people what to do. Ask them questions. Don't just give them the plan. Get them involved in it. Make sure that they're the ones that come up with the ideas because they know best. And that's the way that this will be incorporated. Culture is very, very hard to change. And so are behaviors that are ingrained into our clients. And just telling them to do something does not work. Now, if there is just one takeaway that you get from this whole training, this is it. Behavior change coaching and personal training are not the same job, they're not the same business, and they're not the same career. They are chalk and cheese. And I mean they're chalk and cheese. The difference is I might have a paintbrush, right? I can be a painter and I can paint walls. I can paint, be good at it, right? And I get paid, right? But it doesn't mean I'm an artist. It doesn't mean I'm Rembrandt. So some of the tools might look similar, but the outcomes are very, very different. The artistry involved is very different as well. So listen, my hope with that story is that it gives more context to these four steps that I'm going to share. They are, all right, I'm getting a me from Matt Bible. What's happening, Matt? So just quickly, anyone who's jumped on the call new, please do let me know where you're coming from. What you want to learn from today as well. And I will say, if you keep it in the Q&A, it's much easier for me because there are going to be bits that I want to get some interaction from people. There are going to be bits that I want to get some interaction. Let's see how we go. So what's happening, Matt? Yep, I came in around 205. All right, nice. Your packaging and pricing. In the industry, success is often seen as getting fully booked and charging 10 or 5 or $10 more than everyone else. You probably know this is true, by the way. You probably know this is true. Likely, you base your charges off what others around you are charging. Likely, you base your charges off what others are around you are charging. In fact, let me ask you an actual question. This isn't rhetorical. Not specifically what do you charge, but how do you charge? How did you decide what to charge? By the way, that is not a rhetorical question. I would like some answers, please. While you do that, I'm definitely going to take some water on. It's nice and hot in England at the moment. Some of my clients can also join in and give us some insights. So it's not what you charge, but how did you come to what you charge? Where did that come from? How did you decide? There's sometimes a delay on these calls, or people are just not necessarily. Oh, here we go. I decided to charge on my previous experience, 7 years against new trainers in Pure Gym. So I decided to charge on my previous experience, 7 years against new trainers in Pure Gym. And I don't know if this is what the outcome of that is. I'm likely better than them, so I'm going to just charge a bit more. But I'm too scared to charge loads more. And there's loads of reasons why that happens. Based on pricing from high-end studios in the area, what are the other top tier people charging? Awesome. Awesome. Who else? And to be honest, I'll share mine as well. I looked, oh, here we go. Looked at the average of those around me and added £5. Yeah. So this is how I decided. I went into the gym early doors, didn't know loads of people, started making friends with the receptionist, like started to get like, no, I was new as a personal trainer. I was just like, started asking the question of like, who's the best personal trainer here? And everyone in the gym pointed to the same person. It was this guy called Lency. I wanted to charge what he charged. I was newer, so I didn't think that I could quite charge what he did. We got Jess saying I charged what I thought the locals could afford. Right? And I just charged originally a little bit less than him, hoping that I could charge the same. And then eventually I got to a point where, like I've told you, this parts of the story is like I just charge £5 more than everyone else. That's success, right? But the thing is, right, your real problem isn't your rates. It's that every time you want to earn more, the only answer is more sessions, more evenings, more weekends. And maybe you're already at the limit of what you're willing to give. I've spoken to some people on this call, and I know for a fact, I don't know how much, I'm surprised there's anything in the tank. And here's the solution is you have to get your head around this because all of those other people around you may or may not have. So all of the other people around you that we're basing our charges on may or may not have even got this. And it's not just I can read this like it's a bumper sticker, but actually knowing it and getting some proof and evidence, irrefutable proof and evidence is different. And it's charging for the result, not per hour. That is the only way we should be charging for what we do. A dentist, in fact, let me give you another example. When I was at college, I worked in a private hospital. They all made a lot of money, a lot. There was one person there that made about 5 times as much as everyone else. And it wasn't just because he was a specialist and they were all GPs. That's not the case. Because everyone's heard that, oh, GPs get paid this, specialists get paid that. Yeah, yeah. And I agree, by the way. But the difference was that this guy charged for the result and not time. Because the operation that he did took 20 minutes. All the others, like, I don't know what they were doing, like, I don't know, transplants and shit like that, right? And knee replacements and stuff, hip replacements. And these took hours. This guy did an operation, it took 20 minutes. But he was the only person that could do it in Europe. People would come from everywhere. And he charged twice as much for all of these other guys. He didn't worry that because his thing took 20 minutes and they were in there for 3 hours that he should charge. Right. He just charged for the result. This is what this looks like in person. Sales are in the air, folks. Have sold a 12-week PT program, 1,500 King's English money, which for you Americans is $2,000. New client signed, hybrid in person and online at $3,000. So for us Brits, that's probably about 2,200. And this is what, that was for hybrid, by the way. This is for online. Whoop, whoop. New client in at 2K for 12 weeks, and that is American money. So listen, right, and this is a good insight. But Tim, I can't get my head around going around and charging a new client 3K next week, right? I can't get my head around that. And that's totally normal, by the way. And so this is my advice, or what is my advice, I guess. And it's a bit of a secret source insight, is that you don't at first. You don't have to go out and your first client charge 2, 3, 4K. You launch a beta. And all of the guys that I've just showed you made their first sales at around, you can write this number down, around 40 to 60% of what they eventually charged with a more flagship launch. All that means is that the next run of people that they bring in. Went for 750 as I felt confident with that one. Not so confident with the 997 yet. I don't know. What's that? About $1,000. Very smiley people today on these testimonials. $1,200 and whoop eek. Sold two first programs in one day. 2,000 to two programs for 1,000 each. I don't think I've ever collected 2,000 in a single day. So that's my insight, is that we want to charge this amount, but we don't think we have to do it straight away. Charge around 40 to 60% of what you eventually want to charge. Right, step number 2. Most coaches think personal training or selling nutrition sessions are the solution to health, weight, wellness struggles that clients have. They also think it's the solution to the income goals we have as fitness professionals, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be doing it like that. Now, here's why we think that that's the case. And I'm going to call it, I thought it was very funny when I came up with this, the gym industrial complex. And I'm kind of being facetious, obviously, but I actually mean it. I remember I was talking to someone who was at one of my gyms, and they kind of, I don't know, they were up in the sort of head officey type place. And they said to me that a third of the whole revenue of this company, which was ended up being $1 billion company, owned by venture capital, and they didn't give a fuck about us or the end users. A third of the income, the turnover from that business, was from personal trainers, from charging personal trainers rent. Then I started asking questions, and then it turns out that at the time, and look, this was in the UK, the three biggest fitness providers, and this was back in the day when they decided to just get together. They all decided to get together. By the way, this was people who sold certifications to qualify personal trainers. And they decided to get together and create an industry umbrella. It's like they were the people that made all the money from this. They decided to create this industry umbrella. I'm sure they got the government to give it a little bit of a pat on the head, right? And then they made the rules. Obviously, it was probably at arm's length, this new umbrella, this organization. I think they were called reps. They made the rules that to be a personal trainer, you needed to do these certain things. And that included paying stupid amounts of money for insurance. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't get insured. What I'm saying is the way that they did it. And they also said, oh, to get this insurance as well, by the way, you have to do certain amount of these points every year. By the way, I did them. I just realized like these people are just taking the piss. Like there's just a cabal going on here. Like literally, how you're the people that certify and charge me 5 or 6 grand in dollars for learning, and then make me spend all of this other money to then, after I qualify, be guaranteed a job. I was guaranteed a job. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I'm guaranteed a job. No, sorry, guaranteed a job interview. No shit, I was guaranteed a job interview. I was paying Fitness First $1,400 a month. I wasn't getting a job. I was getting to pay them money. And this was ridiculous. And look, here's the evidence of why this is not good for clients. And what I mean by that is why personal training is not good for clients. I'll give you my honest story, and I was a very good PT. I would say at best, and I'll be honest, I think I'm probably giving myself a little bit too much credit, or the model too much credit. I reckon at best 2 out of 10 of my clients actually lost weight, significantly changed their habits, really changed things for life. And I think I should probably have said like 1 out of 10. And even then, I would think I was being generous. Because a lot of my clients look the same in year 5 as they did in day 1. Or maybe they looked a little bit different after the first month. And then from there to year 5, they just looked exactly the same. And already said it. Charging per hour for us as business owners is terrible. Also, it means that we only get paid when we're working in the gym. We work unsocial hours. And for many PTs, they simply end up having a shelf life. Like there is this meme, the 40-year-old personal trainer, right? They just end up needing to do something different. What we want is a new business model, a totally new business model. And that's what being a behavior change specialist is. It's not just a title on someone's LinkedIn banner. Without behavior change, and by the way, you can go and see this, research it, and lots of people know this, even personal trainers, without behavior change, of the people who actually lose weight successfully, 95% of them put it all back on or more within 18 months. So, of the people that actually lose weight, which is not loads, all 95% of those people put it back on or more within months. And we think that like seeing a client 1 hour a week or 2 hour a week is ever going to work. It was a terrible fit. There is a weight loss, and there's been this for 2 decades. A weight loss, a health, a stress epidemic, and somehow gyms and all these other people convinced us that a good solution for that is personal trainers. By the way, they also convinced people buying personal training. It doesn't work. So, a behavior change coach has a business system which clients know they need, by the way, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. They just need to know how, you just need to know how to help them see this. So, I'm going to, I decided to charge around the average trainer charges. I started out lowballing but increased price, but I was afraid to charge what the big names in the area charge though. And that's 100% exactly what I hear all the time. And it's a problem. So, would anyone like to hear my live sales demonstration of how I used to help people see why they didn't need a personal trainer and why they needed a behavior change coach? Would anyone like to? And by the way, you're getting a recording of this, so you can just use it in your own calls as well. Would anyone like to know? Yes, please. Anyone else? Yep. Yes. Matt didn't get the memo. Matt, do us a favor, stay in the Q&A. That's where we try and keep all the yes. Is it any good? Eric says, client. So, Matt, stay in the Q&A just so I make sure I don't miss you because I like to keep it in one place as opposed to the chat. So I'll give you a few. Right. So I love teaching sales. So I would early on in the call say something like, by the way, do you know the difference between a personal trainer and a behavior change coach? So straight away there, what I'm doing is I'm making them subconsciously know that there is a difference. Now, if they said no, I'd be like, awesome, we'll come back to it later. And I probably wouldn't even tell them because if I start telling them that point, what they're going to start doing is asking questions and then I lose frame. I just want to implant it in their mind that there is a difference. Now, sometimes people would tell me because they had been watching my content and they'd seen some of my indoctrination and they'd tell me, I'd be like, awesome, okay, cool. Then I might have another question, which is, what have you tried before that didn't work? What have you tried before that didn't work? What else? What else? What else? And a lot of my clients that I had, eventually, especially, had many trainers before. What have you tried that didn't work? Why didn't that work? Why didn't it work? And I would pull apart not people as individuals, but what they had tried before. Why do you think it didn't work? How long were you there for? So you trained with this guy for 3 years. Oh, he was really good. I'd like Matt. He sounds like he was really awesome. Just like curious if there was anything that could have been improved. Like, what would that be? Oh, you know what? It would have been good if I'd lost a bit of weight. You know what? It would have been good if I'd had a bit more accountability. And this is the third one, which is the real golden question or few questions. I wrote a book, by the way, so I can say this. You can just use your own derivative of it. And I would say to people on the call, hey, by the way, can I tell you all the things I think that people need to know about like losing weight? Can I tell you a bit about what I think they are? They'd say, yeah, of course. I'd say, well, a few years ago, me and my business partner, we wrote a book, and we wanted to include like all the things that someone needed to do to lose weight. Now, imagine we Googled it and millions come up, right? And they would laugh, and I'd be like, so we got it down to about 80. Does that sound about right? And by the way, someone would just say yes at this point. I'd say, we knew that when we were going to put the book out, we wanted to make it easy for people to digest. So, can I tell you how we put that into 5 categories, 5 pillars? And can I tell you what those pillars are? And say, yeah, please. And say, and this was slightly different the way I used to do it because this was slightly before some of the terms, but let's go with it. I'd go training, nutrition, lifestyle factors, stress, sleep, that kind of thing, habits, and behavior change. And they'd be like, no one's going to argue with that. Say, look, I don't know if we're going to work together, but if we were going to, like, which of those do you think that you would need the most help with? What else? What else? What else? And so what I'm doing is I'm taking a 1 pillar problem, which by the way, or sorry, in their mind, they think it's a 1 pillar problem, i.e. I need a personal trainer. And I'm changing it into a 5 pillar problem, which it is. So when I change it from a 1 pillar problem into a 5 pillar problem, they can't go to the 1 pillar, which is the personal trainer. They can't go to that person because they know that the personal trainer just helps them with training. And so I say, what else? What else? Oh, I need accountability. What else? You talked about, I definitely need some habits. What else? My food. What else? Cool. And then what I might do at one point, I might swing around and just say, hey, listen, I asked you earlier about like the difference between a personal trainer and behavior change. And they go, oh yeah, now it makes sense. And so clients, when you ask them questions from their past experience, actually often know this. They do know that their problems lay not just in an hour of a workout. Now, I will say one caveat. Some people would be on a call like this and go, well, I do personal training. That's what everyone sees me as. But I do give them the other stuff. You know what? So did I. Because they didn't pay for it, they didn't take it seriously. They didn't do the workouts. They didn't follow my. When they pay attention. And we're going to get people attracted to us that know they need help a bit on a bigger picture. So, your leads and positioning. By the way, some people have taken that little spiel that I just gave you out there and they've signed clients from it. So, listen, your leads and positioning. Local marketing happens by word of mouth or speaking to gym clients. Maybe that's your situation, or whatever else gets tried here and there. Sometimes flyers, sometimes posters or local ads. And then people are posting on Facebook. It also happens, but perhaps maybe more sporadically than they would like, right? And with no plan behind it, when a post falls flat, that silence reads as proof that it's not working. So both of these situations often leave someone thinking, I need to post more, I need better leads, I need to spend more time on my marketing. So I need to post more, I need better leads, or I need to spend more time on my marketing. And of course, you think that that's the problem. Of course you do, because this is what FitPro marketers tell you. It's not your fault. This is what the bulk of FitPro marketers tell you, I should say, by the way. I'm here to tell you something different. The real problem isn't that you need to show potential new clients that you are a better PT than others out there. In fact, I would actually say that it's the problem itself, you stepping into that frame. And the problem certainly isn't just I need to show this that I'm a better PT to more leads. It's the actual problem is that you are competing in the same race to the bottom game. You are making yourself be seen as the same as every other PT. That is a terrible place to be. And here's the thing, right? Your gut probably knows that you're not just the same as every other PT. I look, I had self-doubt, but I looked around myself in the gym and I knew that I wasn't the same. Like I knew I was a better personal trainer than these other people. They didn't seem to care that much. They were, a couple of them were real good cracks, but they just didn't really give a shit about it. right? However, after 10 years in the industry, you still feel like you're seen like just a PT. And so you need a way to articulate that you are a more sophisticated version of a fitness professional, but you can't articulate it to clients or sometimes even to yourself. And so the goal becomes get known as the behavior change coach specialist for your gym, for your locality, for your niche online. There are three different ways to do this and work with clients: in person, online, and hybrids. In other words, what you need to do is develop your offer first. Otherwise, you are only going to be driving eyeballs and leads to the exact same positioning. And that means the positioning as you as the same as everyone else. Develop your offer first. Position yourself as something different and why people need this something different. And then start focusing on driving more eyeballs and leads. And if you're driving eyeballs and leads and you're not getting listened to, that might be something that you need to look at. Okay, right, we're doing well. We're doing well. We're doing well. This is my Oasis coat. So, your leadership. Let me ask people that are on the call, who has done a 5 reasons why process? Who has done a 5 reasons why process? The people on the call, who has done the 5 reasons why process? And I would even say, who has done it for this call with the homework that was set, or not the homework, that's a terrible metaphor to use. The golden process that was on the thank you page. Because this is where it's going to become very useful. And I will come back to that. I filled them out. Hell yes, Matthew Bible. This is your leadership pillar, step. This is Jahanzeb. My last one-to-one client I signed, he paid me £12,000, which is about $18,000 at the time, for a 16-week transformation. That's him in one of his 4 cars. He had a Lamborghini, he had a Ferrari, he had a Rolls Royce, and sadly, his 4th car was only a Range Rover. I just did what I'm taking you through. Now, listen, people are going to say, oh, but it's different for you, Tim. It's different for you because we all think that our problems are special. And look, the reality is, okay, the reality is Jahanzeb lived in Mayfair, right? Jahanzeb lived in Mayfair, and I'm just a superhuman with magical powers, very handsome in my Oasis coat, and no one else is as cool as me. So no one can do these things. It's only me. I am different. Or you just have to understand the reality that, okay, you might not sign an $18,000 client, right? But I'm no different than anyone else. Because the doubt is normal, right? This self-doubt is normal. No one ever told us anything different. No one ever told us anything different. And I don't just mean as a personal trainer, I just mean in life. Here's what the real problem is. We are always the limitations to our business. We are always the limitations to our business. We have this comfort zone, this limiting beliefs, which talk us out of making the moves that you'll need to make to sell 2 to 5K packages. We have the gremlins in our head. Oh, but it's different for me. No one in my area would do this. I can't do that. I had some no's. What about other people? They're better than me. So this is one of the reasons that I use the 5 reasons why I can't. This is one of the reasons that I use the 5 pillars why I can't. And very quickly, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is actually something that I use with my clients. And this is something that you could use with your clients if you want to steal it. And it's something that I use for myself. And I actually did this when I originally did a body transformation and actually started seeing results that I hadn't been able to see for a long time, like I had never seen before. And I realized like I just had so many self-doubts, limiting beliefs in the past that I'd actually never really done it properly. Because I was just always convinced myself, oh, I was different. I was a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian, sadly enough, for 19 years. Like, I don't know, all of these were, oh, it's just different for me. I can't get lean, blah, blah, blah. And when I eventually did do it properly, I was like, God, I had so many of these limiting beliefs. And then I was like, well, hang on a minute. Could I not make this into a little thing that I do on myself? It's like, I want to buy myself a house. I'm going to go from personal debt and I'm going to buy myself my first ever house. And you know what? My I'm not even going to say ego. I just thought it was a crack. I'm going to buy myself a £500,000 house. That's going to be my first house. By the way, that also equates to not living in a shithole in London. And that was the goal. I want to buy myself, at the time, it's about $750,000. I want to buy my first house. I'm going to do it in 12 months. And I did this. What are the reasons I can't? And the reason this is a really good tool is because it allows us to filter for things that are limiting beliefs and things that might be some sort of reality. One of mine, when I was wanting to charge 2K for my personal training, was I realized, and this, I didn't write it down like this formally, but I realized that I was in the wrong place. I needed to be in Mayfair, not in Liverpool Street. So I went and found a gym. I needed to get better at sales. Definitely needed to get better at sales. I needed to be able to sit there and ask someone for £12,000. And that wasn't for the 16 weeks, it was for the first client that paid me that. I knew I didn't know how to do that. I needed to get in front of the right people. I needed to work on me as well, by the way. So this is a really good process that you can use for clients, but also for you. The way you do it is my goal is, and you put your goal, whether that's a big goal, whether it's like, I want to sell a 2 grand program, whether it's, I want to hit 6 figures, whether it's, I want to buy a big house, whatever it is. And then you write down the reasons you can't. And this is key and fundamental. You don't do anything then. You leave it for at least a day or two, and then you come back. If you do this with clients, here's one thing that they will say in those first 5: I don't have time. Now, you could get into an argument with the client telling them why they do have time, but you won't win it. Or you get them to do this and they come back the next day and they're like, oh, I don't have time. And they're like, I kind of do, don't I? I mean, I could do 20 minutes 3 times a week. And you know what? A lot of it's from the nutrition anyway. It's a really, really good coaching tool. So, all right. We're doing well. We're doing well. Those are the 4 steps you need to take. Now, we do have plenty of time for Q&A. We are going to do some Q&A and I've got some more content as well. But if you feel like what I've introduced sits well with you and you'd like to know the new way of growing your fitness business, heads up, this is the time where I'm going to put an offer in front of people. If the shy wallflowers are going to be offended or were offended, this is the time to jump off or put your fingers in your ears and go la la la. For everyone else, give you like 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. This is good. So I'd like to invite you into my world. This is the moment I'm going to show you my offer. So Shy Wallflowers can mute me if need be. I am running a special edition of the Behavior Change Coach, and here's what I'm looking for. I am looking for 8 coaches who've been in the industry. This is important. You've been in the industry for more than 5 years. They'll want to run a case study launch of their new behavior change coaching program. We'll launch their online version first, and then we'll be aiming to sign their first 5 to 7 premium clients in the next 60 days. We'll then capture those success stories as case studies for use in a flagship launch at full price later in the year. The financial goal, this is no guarantee, the financial goal will be we will be able to generate between $5,000 and $10,000 in new revenue, as their case study launch process prices would be around 1,000 to 1,500. And I'm going to do something that most coaches don't do. I'm going to do something that most coaches don't do. I'm going to tell you what the investment is up front. And I'm even going to tell you about my August for free bonus for the first 3 joiners. I'm even going to tell you about my bonus, right? Now, I know that normally you get told this right at the end. I'm going to tell you it right now. So, firstly, why the August for free bonus? Some of you may have your vacation booked. And also, some of you may see that potential clients have some vacations. Who knows? Or you may be worried about that. So, for the first 3 out of these 8 coaches that come on, I'm gifting the month of August totally free. So in essence, what that means is those 3 will get 12 weeks for the normal investment of 8. Those 3 will get 12 weeks for the normal investment of 8. And obviously that's the first 3 people that join. Now, of course, I know you'll have plenty of questions, which we will cover. Right? This is not me making the offer, it's just telling you about the situation. And of course, I will cover those with you. But the investment for the standard 8 weeks, obviously, first 3 get 12 weeks. I have 2 options because I want to make this as easy as possible to get started. So the community offer, which is in group, is, and if you're a Brit, you can work this out. I could probably do it with you somewhat. £170 per week for 8 weeks, which works out at $170, which works out at 1,360. That's about £125. Or up front, you make a saving of 200, so that would be 1,160. So they're the 2 options for the community offer, the community program. Now, I do have option 2, which is what I call the proximity offer, and that's one-to-one calls as well as full access to the group. That is $340 per week for 8 weeks, which would work out at $2,720. Or if you wanted to make a saving of 400 on that, it would be 2,320 up front. That is about $250 a week. I'm trying to work it out. Yeah, that's about $250 a week. The aim on either option is that we can get you into profit in the first 2 to 3 weeks. The aim is to get you into profit in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Again, the first 3 joiners out of the 8 will be getting 12 weeks for the normal investment of 8. 12 weeks for the normal investment of 8. There you go, community offer. $170 per week for 8 weeks, which is 1,360. You're going to make a saving. You can make a saving of 200 on that, and it'll be 1,160. That would be for 12 weeks if you're one of the first 3. And then the other one is 340 per week, 2,720. If you wanted to make a saving on that, it brings it down to 2,320. My aim always is that we get people into profit within the first 2 to 3 weeks. So just to be clear, by the way, can't be sitting there waving your credit cards. You can't buy this right now, right? I always filter people on calls. Partly because I want to make sure it's the right for the person. And probably, as mentioned, you'd have some questions as well. So here's what you can do. You can book into my calendar now. I'm going to add that into the chat so everyone can see it. I'm going to ask Sarah, can she see that in the chat? Can she see that in the chat? Oh, and I don't know if that's somehow gone on to 2 lines. That shouldn't happen. That might be better. I'm going to ask Sarah if she can see that in the chat. Grr. Sarah, could you post it in the chat, please? Oh, I know why. Well, donut. Okay. So let me know you can now. So let's dive into some Q&A and some further insight. So let's dive into some Q&A and further insight. Now I can. All right, you hungry people, my strong suggestion would be, if you feel like this might be something that we want to explore together, is to fill that link out, book a call. It's 15 minutes. As I say, this is not me selling you anything at this point. It's not even me making you an offer. It's me and you having a conversation about this being the right thing for you. Um, let's dive into some Q&A and further insight. We have done very well, by the way, today. We have done very well. So we're going to dive into a Q&A and further insights. I would love to know if what questions people have. I would love to know what questions people have. Now, I do haven't asked for questions. I do have some questions that I'm going to go over, some further insights. But before I do that, I would love to know if there's any questions that anyone would have, and they would put them in the Q&A. If you are a current client and you're kind of here because you're cool and you want to hang out, what were some questions you had as well? What were some questions you had as well? Right. So as I do that and I wait for your questions, I know some people are shy. Let me go over some of the extra insights. And I put these in the frame of questions. So I said to you, I'd show you how to make this something that turns into recurring income. So what do I do with the clients after 12 weeks? And I'm going to go through the different options. Now, I had a post on LinkedIn and some absolute donut came and said something like, oh, this is rubbish. Why would you sell 12 weeks? It's so outdated. Can't remember what else he said. I was like, I can't bother to get into an argument with someone. I'm just going to delete his post. The old me might have started getting in an argument with someone or telling them, and I was just like, this is pointless. But I think what it does raise is that there is actually a genuine worry. Is that what? So just give them 12 weeks and then they're gone. Like that just means churn. And what I really like about this multiple income streams is we can really create a business that gives us a lot of security, but also a big upside. And so what we actually do is separate things depending on what they buy. So when someone comes into a behavior change coaching program and you're delivering that in person, the likely best thing to do at the end of the 12 weeks is that you put them into an ongoing recurring. You put them into an ongoing recurring, and that is a monthly. Now, because you've charged a big whack, you still get a lot of recurring income from them. So, for instance, Jess had them at 1500. Then we looked at the ongoing after the 12 weeks is a very slight psychological discount. When I say discount, I just mean it's a very slight drop because it helps with the ongoing spend. People like it. And to be honest, it's not a lot. And so they went into a recurring after that. That gives great recurring income. Whereas with the online, what you do is you then offer them a 6-month mastery. I'll just be really transparent. One of the challenges with full online behavior change coaching is it often solves a lot of the mindset problems that clients have. Now, does it totally solve everything? No. Do they still know that they can keep it off? No. Has it solved the mindset problems of getting started and actually getting traction and getting somewhere? Yes. So you massively sell it on the continuous work with them, the accountability to make sure that it doesn't come back on. And you do that in a 6-month mastery. What we do simply is we just double the prices of the front end. So if someone spent 1500, they spend 3 grand on the next program. And that can be either paid in full or it can be monthly. So what you're doing is you're stacking income each month. How do I use this? Oh, I've already covered that. How do I use this to add recurring income? I'm going to just check in with the questions. Oh, well done, someone who told me that. Well done, someone who told me that. So I'm at the questions. I would love some questions from people on the call. I'd love some questions on people from the call. Um, Where do I find leads who will pay for behavior change coaching? I think this is a very, very good question. And we have to look at the sequence of these questions. It might be the wrong question or the wrong frame of the question. Anyone who's successful with their fitness business, they all find the leads in the same places. They all find the leads in the same places, but why are they attracting them and why aren't you? So what we have to do is we have to first step back a little bit. We have to understand that we marry niche and avatar with our new positioning and offer. So we need to understand those two together. We need to understand who it is that you want to work with. You want to dial into a certain niche of people. Now, some of you may know this. It's like, Tim, I know this. You're sitting there with your feet up, smoking a cigar. Like, yeah, I know this. But lots of people know it, but they don't actually do anything with it because they're scared and they're worried and they think they've got the wrong niche. And then they want to swap niches and they end up doing that because they're just uncertain about things. And they just go around in circles for years. And I'm literally seeing this so many times. And what we need to do is we need to understand the exact type of client we want to work with. We need to understand those people and what they really want, not what we think they want. The way that we do that in my program is we do what's called a research call strategy. And we get on, we have a strategy for getting usually around sort of 8 to 10 of those type of people. And then we get them on a call, like a value swap, it's called. By the way, if you're on this call, you could even ask chat what that would look like. And then you get to ask them all the things about what they're struggling with, how they perceive it, how it's making them feel, what they would really want to get, where they would really want to be, I should say, and how that will affect their lives. By the way, you could Google motivational interviewing, you could Google consultative sales, because these are all the same thing. So one of the benefits of that strategy as well, I'll give you an extra little insight, is that after you've done this, the person has been motivationally interviewed. They're connected to where they are now. And you just simply say, hey, listen, when this is ready, would you like to have maybe a conversation about it? It seems like there's some real struggle here. And if you line up 10 of these, you might sell 3 people. It's not going to build your 6-figure business, but it is a good bonus from that. But you also get what they say in their words. So we need to understand niche and avatar, but we need to be a bit cleverer than the average, and get it in their words. Then when we've got that decided, we choose which is the platform that we want to spend time on. We really like email marketing as well, so we tend to do that. We don't do it straight away, but it's something that we add in. We also like some longer form. Some of the guys on the call are getting to this. I like YouTube. I'm not the big. I would like to like Substack, but I'm just not the best writer. I'm okay, right? I'm not the best in the world, but somewhere where people can deep dive with your stuff. And we choose platforms. I like LinkedIn. I also like Facebook still, by the way, partly because my avatar are still on there. If you're working with 22-year-olds, you might not be on Facebook. So it's the sequence that's important to understand. People really pay 5K in one go for this. And the answer is yes. Now, here's the thing, right? Some of you know me and some of you don't. And so some of you are going to just be like, yeah, bullshit about what I'm going to say. And some of you are going to go, yeah, I can see that. I've had clients that have sold these 12 weeks programs for about 7K in dollars, about 5K in pounds. And of course, they've had good positioning. They've had some good lead flow. They've had some good results with clients. They've got a good niche. They've got they learned a lot from sales from me, and they're decent marketing. They didn't start there, by the way, but I've had clients that have sold this for up to that. Here's the thing to get your head round. Maybe we just take a step back down. If I went and saw an average personal trainer for 3 times a week, let's say that you target people, let's say you have an online version of this and you target people in, say, London or Manhattan, New York, right? By the way, if you live in a shithole area, having an online version of what you do is a very good option because it allows people that live in nice areas with wealthy areas to actually access your help. And let's say an average personal trainer in London charges £60 an hour, right? Let's just say that. Maybe they're half decent-ish, but let's say they charge £60 an hour. And does that trainer have a client that pays them 3 times a week? I mean, I had them, sure. So yes, lots of other people did. So that equates to £180 a week just at £60. And to be honest, a lot of trainers in London will charge 80, 90. So let's just lowball it at 60. It's 180 a week times 12, because that's what they would pay this person. 180 a week times 12 is £2,180, about $2,700. That's what they're already going to spend somewhere else or already are spending. What you need to do is you need to create a system or be a coach that has a system that at the very least doesn't get worse results than what someone would see going to see this personal trainer. The reality is when you learn a behavior change coaching system, you will blow these people out the water. And so you should charge more because you're the expert, you're the doctor in that hospital that I worked in. You're the one who's just like, yeah, I don't care if it only takes me 45 minutes a week. I mean, you don't say this to people. It's like, let them do 3 sessions a week, because actually what I'm doing is I'm delivering and selling the result. So yes, people do pay that. And certainly in the model that I would teach, even people in year one, you would be selling upsells, like ongoing programs. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't be selling them for 5K. Either you can do it paid in full or you can do it in installments. But I had a question before I started. How am I going to learn how to coach? I've never done anything like this before. Very good question. And that kind of goes, it's like, how does this work? So coaching is a very woolly term. I did a postgraduate diploma, which was worth a third of a master's credit, literally a master's, like an MSc. I did a course that was worth a third of that. And we spent a day talking about the definitions of what coaching was. It was academic somewhat as well. And it was a bit douchebaggy, I'll be honest. Now, the people that were teaching us were also just going, look, this is a bit douchebaggy, but you have to do it. Because it was like that sort of academic thing where you had to like weigh up different people's versions of what coaching was and wasn't, and what when it was mentoring. And it was just, I was like, oh, this is just douchebaggy. So I'm going to try not to be that person. But I would have said I was a coach. I said I was a coach in the gym. I was a strength and conditioning coach on my little profile. I've spoken to lots of people who are like, I'm coach this. And they are, by the way, but they're not coaches in the definition that and by the way, who the hell am I to say it? But it's my world. I'll say what I want. Is that in my world, behavior change coaching is different to just coaching. Coaching is not cheerleading. Coaching is not giving them good form. It's a different skill set. How do you learn how to be a coach? Well, to be honest, it is a reasonable amount away from what most people think it is. Even those people that say, I do mindset and they put it on their profiles. What do? Maybe they cheerlead a bit. I don't know. They give check-ins. They do. I don't know. The way that you learn to coach is by either doing what I did, which is I think that coaching in what I wanted to achieve or what I was trying to do with my clients on a continuum of, I'm going to use these words, by the way, life coaching to personal training. I'm not saying it's life coaching for sure, but it's somewhere in the middle. And the only reason I say that is I'm not suggesting that everyone becomes a life coach. Like lots of people have lots of different opinions about them. But the essence of life coaching is they are good ones, are expert at change. They're expert at change. That's what we want to become. We want to become experts at change. So you could do what I did, which is spend many, many months, many years, I think I spent about 10 grand on my diploma. Read a shitload of books. Switch, I really like. Chimp Paradox, I really like. Mindset by Carol Dweck, I really like. They're three books that are very, very good. Um, or you can come and join my program and I'll, I guess, teach you in 12 weeks. And the question would be to the person who asked that, like, and anyone that's on the call, it's like, did they know what coaching was going to be before they started, or did the reality become very different? Some keys of coaching are things like questions and the answers. So when I was a personal trainer, I just told everyone everything because I knew stuff. What a coach realizes is better it's better to ask the person their opinion, even if you actually know the answer. So when a client asks you, what do I do here? I've got some thoughts, but what do you think? What could you do differently? Questions are the answers. Like when you get someone else to create the plan with you or on their own, they are much more likely to follow it. If you go to see any organizational change, they are much, much more likely to do it. So when you just tell someone, here's the plan, it's better to be effective than right. And what I mean by that is, it's better to have a program that's about 70% perfect that the client follows than one that's 100% perfect and the client doesn't follow. So the way to do that is by to get the person involved. We do things like incremental change, 2 to 3 things each week. You don't go in and change everything. I used to try and do that. I used to give my joiners a 50-page PDF when they joined, a 50 fucking page PDF, because I thought I was doing my job and I was giving them all the stuff. You know, the people that I started doing online, we've got go and run around the park 3 times because they hadn't been doing it, and bring me some photos of your food for 3 days. And they paid me 3 grand for that. Yes. Why start adding online? Why not in person? Interesting. Part of the reason is because most people that I work with, in fact, nearly all people, they already have a personal training business that's okay. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but it's okay. What they don't have is a online version of what they do. And so what we want to do is start inserting other options that they can serve clients with. It also takes up a lot less of their time. So we can start charging some good money because we're charging for the result and we're doing it with less time. And, it's not 2 hours a week in the gym. It's a better place as well sometimes to practice. Now you can do hybrids as well, which is basically you do some online check-ins, online calls, and you do in person. That's a perfectly good thing to do. I also find it easier just because my guys, when they make their first few sales online, they get confident that this on its own works. And so when they sell hybrids, they know that it's worth the 2,000, 3,000. Does this work for nutrition coaches? Uh, Yes, 100%. And I would even say that when we do behavior change, when you do personal training is about 95% of what you do with a client. When you're doing behavior change coaching without the in-person stuff, about 20% is training and you simplify everything. So none of my clients got complicated exercises that I would do while I was in the gym. And to be honest, I realized that the reason why my clients are overweight, stressed, fat, out of shape, unhappy, miserable, low energy was not because they didn't deadlift. I absolutely loved deadlifts, but that wasn't the reason that they were all those things. So could I leave them out of my programs online when I was giving them stuff to do? Yes. I wouldn't give anything complicated to a client online if that's the version. When I'm doing hybrids or when I'm doing in person, we can give them some cool technique stuff. Everything is just simple. I wouldn't do even things like overhead presses. I wouldn't even do squats. It's too much complication. And is the reason that the average person in all those situations where they hate themselves, they're miserable, they've got no energy because they don't squat? No. Is it the best exercise in the world? You know, risk reward as well, especially if you're working with older people. Get them to do a split squat. Anyone can do that. So the reason I say that for the nutrition coaches is a lot of nutrition coaches, like their focus is the nutrition aspect of what they do. And so sometimes they're a little bit worried about, oh, I don't know about what I do with the exercise. It's like it's actually very simple. You really don't need to do anything complicated because exercise is very important for long-term health, but for the initial part, it loses a little bit of its importance compared to the behavior change and the nutrition. Um, is this different from online PT? It seems very different. Yes, it's chalk and cheese. So it's chalk and cheese. Um, one of my new clients keeps calling it online PT. I'm like, right. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stop calling it online PT. Because online PT is you sitting behind a Zoom screen like this and telling the client to do some workouts. And look, it's not the end of it's not the end of the world if people do that. Like it's okay. We did it over COVID. We told people like just rescue the business, make sure clients don't leave um for their current clients. But it doesn't solve any problems. It's just not that good. It's not leveraged. You're not learning anything new. The client's still getting a workout, which is fine. But you know what? They might as well just go to the gym and get a personal trainer nearby, even if you're amazing. So it's very different. And again, I try not to be a dick about this. Like, it's not anything like the same. One of the challenges with online is that there are lots of different versions of online, and most people don't know what on if you're doing this online, what behavior change coaching looks like online. They just compare it and assume it's just the same as selling $149 a month generic workouts. Totally different game. I like the idea of hybrids. Tell me a little bit more. All right, so we're doing well. I'm going to ask who has a question. Who has a question? 'Cause we've got about 8 minutes. We're going to wrap it up. Right, my last shouts for some questions. Um, hybrids are hybrids are good. I like them because you saw Kim, you know, they give you the opportunity to get the best of both worlds, and they give you the opportunity to sell some reasonably good packages. Back in the day, I used to use them because I think people felt a little bit more. This when I first started coaching Fit Pros, the idea of doing something fully online was very foreign to people. It's much less so now. Back then, the industry just didn't believe that it could work. Now they kind of know that it does and it can. They might think it's worse than PT. It's not, it's better, but um, it's not the same fear. So I definitely used to use them as like a stepping stone to say, right, let's get these, we'll do some of the workouts with them, but also I know I want these guys to get more confidence with the coaching stuff. So they can work really well. I don't go into it as in like it's what the client decides they want. Like the client doesn't actually really know. If I'd given them faster horses, if I'd given them what they wanted, they would have had faster horses. I think it was Ford or Daimler. So it's not just what the client wants, because they don't actually know. But sometimes if there's an opportunity that the person knows they need the coaching aspect, but also wants some personal training, and you're open to doing that, why not? It's extra income. Um, I still don't know how this works. And sometimes when people say that, I don't always know exactly what they mean. So sometimes they mean like, I don't know how it would work for the end user. Sometimes they mean, I don't know how this would work for me. And one thing that I learned is that we need to help our clients see that they go at about 85%. I had a call with someone and I asked them, I weren't closing them yet because I just wasn't sure. I was like, can I tell you what I'm thinking? They were like, yeah. I was like, I think you're about 85% to saying yes. like to wanting to do this? And they started laughing. I was like, they said, yes, yes, about white. And I was like, okay. How sure do you think someone needs to be to hire you? Like, how sure would they need to be? Person was like, I was like, would you think they need to be 100%? They're like, I don't know. I don't think, could they be? And I was like, no, of course they couldn't be. They can never be 100%. Anytime they're 100% is after they've hired you and they've got the result. So I was like, where do you think they need to be? I don't know. I was like, about 85%. Can I give you an insight? I said to the guy, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, no one, the winners move at 85%. The losers, the people who lose, they don't because they're waiting for this certainty which doesn't exist. I was like, you're 85%, you're not going to get any further than that. You need to decide whether you want to be one of the winners or I think his answer at some point was like, oh, fuck it, let's do it. So, how do I know it works? Well, the only time that we will truly know it is after doing it. And that's for your client, but also, you know, will becoming a behavior change coach work for you? I don't know how it works. If you're sitting here and you're like, I'm 85% certain that this could work, that's when you need to move, not waiting for the last 10% because it doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. It never happens. We should be moving even with some self-doubt. Okay, people. Thank you so much for being on the call. Thank you so much for being here. You have the link. You have the link. My suggestion, if you feel like what I've shared has some value for you, or you would want to at least have a conversation, and you think that my offer, my special edition, is kind of the time to pull a trigger, then my suggestion is you go and fill out one of those links and you book a call. Again, this is not me saying, yes, we're doing this. It's not you getting on the call and having to pony up your credit card. I thought I would do something that most coaches don't do, which is I shared with you the offer. That call would be a conversation about whether it's a fit. I'll have some questions. I'll have some filtering. So likely would you if it's you who wants to fill it out. I have some conditions. Certainly need to have been in the industry for 5 years. Need to be able to wrap your head around like being able to actually do some of this. You can't be like some total shy wallflower who could never ask someone for like £1,000 or £2,000 eventually. It's like, it probably won't work. If you can get your head around, like, I can just maybe just get my head around that first step, then maybe it's a good option. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on the call. My hope is that I have shared with you how to sell 2 to 5K fitness packages in 2026. And I will maybe speak to some of you. Speak soon.